Bag. I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
What's growing on? What's growing on? What's growing on? Welcome to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris, and we also have Farmer Brown MC. Here at B1AG, we focus on agricultural production as it contains the agricultural production as it pertains to economics, education, marketing, health, food, nutrition, all for the Black family, for the Black community. Welcome Black to the garden. Well, we're finally back. I hope everyone has enjoyed the holidays and being able to fellowship with their family and relishing those times that we do have with our families during these days and times. We're back with a different kind of story today. I don't know about y'all, but there's a professor out of Japan. He has come up with a new way to enjoy your television. Now, this Japanese professor's name is Homei Miyashita, and he's created a prototype TV screen that enables viewers to not just see and hear content, but to taste it as well. It's called Taste the TV. Viewers can now enjoy a sensory edition thanks to a 10-flavor carousel that, when combined, can imitate specific foods flavors from chocolate to pizza. So we're going to deep dive into this today, just looking at the future implications of, how we view content, and, even how this can affect the way we view content, maybe even say in the Metaverse. So today's today's show is NetLICKS and Chill. Japan introduces Lickable TV. Farmer Brown, would you lick your TV screen?
First, I just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. Here at B1AG, one of the things we focus on when we think about food security, specifically within the melanated community, is research. Research is very important. Research is how when we talk about codification, there's a problem and we want to come up with a formidable solution. And so you attain that through research. And so, right, athletes in the building, yes, players from the South. But, there's a gentleman in Japan that is experimenting with lickable TVs. You think about it right now, we're in a world where there's sicknesses going around, communicable diseases and viruses, and the mind is taking this researcher to being able to lick a TV. And I imagine these are replaceable strips. But this concept of NetLICKS and Chill, what does this mean, family? Is this a good thing? Is this a sign that humanity has progressed to the next level, or is this a regression? But I look forward to deep diving into this conversation.
Now, this article that I'm referencing comes from the New York Post. Now, outside of just the idea of being able to taste your TV, what kind of stood out to me was the purpose it says that the TV licking food feature is intended to enhance connection-starved watchers' ability to connect and interact while limited by pandemic restrictions. So there's a real reason why they're introducing these new technologies, and it all centers around us being limited in our mobility and ability to get out and interact with others, just get out in the world. And I think we need to keep that in the back of our mind as well. But this is a real thing. And I would just like to show you how real this is. Check this out.
A prototype Lickable TV in Japan could lead to people being able to taste what they see on TV. University professor Homei Miyashita developed Taste the TV. It sprays a combination of flavors from a variety of 10 canisters onto a hygienic film, which then rolls onto a flat TV screen for the viewer to try.
普通テレビっていうのは映像が出る。そして中に大概スピーカーが入っていて、音も一緒に出る。ということで映像と音声が合わさって配信されているというものだと思います。で、それに味覚も加えて味も一緒に配信する。画面を直接舐めると、そこに映っている食べ物の味を本当に味わえるっていう風なデザインにしています。
Miyashita says the flavors of food can be broken down into several tastes, such as salty, sour, and sweet. The machine is programmed with recipes, allowing it to replicate the taste of 20 different kinds of food. And as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to push on, he said the technology could allow people to experience the outside world even when stuck at home.
コロナ禍でずっと家にいるときに、離れたところの映像を見るとか、離れた人に声で話しかけるっていったことは電話とかテレビを使って行うことはできますよね。でも離れたところにあるレストランの味を家にいながらにして味わうっていうことはやはりできなかったというのがコロナ禍の一つの課題だなっていうふうに感じました。それを何とか実現して家にいながらにして遠くの味を味わうことができたらというのが、自分の開発動機になります。
The professor works with a team of about 30 students, and the TV is not the only flavor-related device he's created. He says he's also in talks with companies about using the spray technology for devices that could apply a pizza or chocolate taste to toasted bread or crackers. Miyashita says the Taste the TV device would cost about 100,000 yen to make, which is just over $1,100 Canadian.
いろんな世界中の味が味コンテンツとして流通するようなプラットフォームを作ろうと思っています。例えば好きな映画を見るとか、好きな音楽を聴くのと同じ感じで、好きな国の好きなレストラン、好きな料理の味をダウンロードして味わうっていうことが将来的にできたらいいなというふうに思っています。
He said the TV could also be used for distance learning for cooks and for tasting games and quizzes. And while it may still take a while before people can give their TVs a satisfying lick, his students are already getting to indulge their sweet tooth.
TTTV 食べたいものは何ですか？甘いチョコレートが食べたいです。甘いチョコレートですね。
すごいちゃんとミルクチョコの味がして甘くて美味しいです。
Sean Preble, Global News.
Bruh, so you know I'm a germaphobe anyway. Right? You have to laugh to avoid. First of all, how much did you pay this woman? Like, what was the incentive to do this? Right? So we have communicable diseases. You know, before there was a such thing as C19, there was this concept of just germs. We have done some discussions talking about the supply chain disruptions, how insects have been affecting the food supply. We see all of these recalls, spinach, different produce, vegetables. And so now we're going to take this to the next level. We're just going to have these little mysterious, ambiguous sprays and I would say toxic materials, chemicals, and people are going to be licking TVs. It's very unfortunate because there is a critical mass of people because somebody's putting a lot of money behind this research. So once again, everything we're showing on here, we're not making this up. Somebody is spending some money on this research. And so saying that to say there's enough people around the world where they assume that, hey, if this is made available as a mainstream product, people will buy into it. It makes me think of the movie Surrogates with Bruce Willis. This came out, a couple, maybe 15 years ago, where people were experiencing their lives vicariously through these avatars. With this TV, and like the professor was talking about, people are on lockdown, and so we want you to experience your food better through this screen. We really have to wonder, okay, I get the idea, looking at it objectively, okay, people are locked down. You saw the guy, the head scientist in the U.S., Dr. F, saying, "Oh yeah, I would recommend jab mandates for domestic flights." I was reading over some paperwork, and this is actually from Georgetown Law, where during the Trump 45's administration, they were discussing the possibility of regulating interstate travel to mitigate the pandemic. So once again, the world is changing rapidly. Here at B1AG, we really like to focus our conversation around food security. As my grandfather says, keep it simple, stupid. We want to make sure as a melanated family, regardless of what's going on around the world, that we're able to eat. And that connection starts with the seed. That connection starts with our relationship with the real land, not lickable screens. You think about how dirty people's fingers are. And then, this is a nice looking meal. Let me taste it. I ain't even going to act this out with my phone, right? Where have we come to, bro? Where are we at right now, bro? Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know how to feel about this.
Well, I'll just to put this out there. I cook. I think it'd be dope if you could taste one of my love salads, through the phone or through your laptop. It could be a good marketing tool. If I had a restaurant, think about it. You can taste the menu before you buy. It just, at this point in time, being that I'm firmly planted and deeply rooted in reality, that seems kind of weird to me, licking the screen. Food eating is still a very real thing to me. Actually picking up the food, placing it in my mouth and chewing it. So anything outside of that is weird. And I see like brother Lockridge, he says, I'm sure 3D printed food is coming. Yeah, it's already here. It's already here. That's what that lab grown meat, a lot of this lab grown meat is 3D printed meat. So I mean, they're injecting this into our reality.
Social engineering.
Yes, they're getting us ready. They're really getting us ready for these new ways to eat. But don't get it twisted. Tasting is different from eating. Let's get that. Let's make sure we get that distinction clear now. Tasting is very different from eating.
Okay, let's be practical here. It's really hard to even have a conversation around this. It's like, is this really where we've come to? I would like to ask the melanated family, maybe this is a rhetorical question. What do you think happened first in the proverbial Garden of Eden? Did Adam and Eve, in this NetLICKS and chill concept, did they consummate and get busy first, or did they eat first? What was the first communal activity? And I would like to, my conjecture is the first thing that anybody does in any civilization or setting is you have to eat. Eating is a communal activity. Not only do we understand that there are social implications of eating around the table, absolutely. You smell Granny's cooking. One of my best memories of childhood was smelling my mom's fingers when she would fry chicken. Like that smell still resonates in my nose. I could smell my grandmother's kitchen when she would cook greens. Anytime we go down to Mississippi and visit, she'd always have that kitchen popping. You know what I'm saying? Our family came together. That was what brought our family together, irregardless of politics, religion. Anytime my granddad Litty or my grandmother Ma had food in the kitchen, that's what brought us together. And so we're coming into a world now where, okay, I can simulate these real world experiences through food, a necessary part of living. I'm gonna simulate this through a phone that you got to pay a fee for. I imagine these particular screens, they say they're hygienic screens, they're going to cost money. What happens when we have a generation of kids? You know, these are the young kids now who are already being traumatized by this concept of lockdown. I need you to mask up. I need you to do all of these safety protocols that still haven't been proven to be effective, but let me not digress. What happens when you have a critical mass of us that see this as normal? See this as, okay, before I eat lunch, okay, class, now peel out your phones and let's lick our phones and see what it is we're going to eat for lunch. Is this cool? Is this cool? Once again, one of the context around this concept is, okay, well, we want people to be used to sitting at home, sitting stagnant, sitting in one place, experiencing the world vicariously through avatars and screens. Is this something that we want to normalize, family? Is this something we want to normalize? Do you have that article?
I'm pulling it up now.
There's been this big conversation about the metaverse. Like I said, I'm not a techie, and so you know we're not here to throw shade, say yay or nay. But this is a thing, and so if you want to read this article real quick, just the first paragraph.
It says the cyber world's introduction to a food metaverse. So this past November, game developers Supreet Raju and Gaurav Gupta introduced One Rare, the world's first food metaverse, which uses non-interchangeable units of data, also known as NFTs or non-fungible tokens, and technology in order to introduce people to a virtually programmed and developed world that is different from reality, while still taking inspiration from the real environment around us. Their goal is to introduce agriculture and the food and beverage industries to a quickly growing Web3 platform known as the Metaverse. Web3 is the new era of modern internet that allows users to interact and create decentralized social networks and control the spread of their own data. So what they want to do is build off the concept of monetizing digital art by allowing users to create dishes or food as NFTs. Chefs are the artists and the dishes are the artwork.
So I'll try my best to play devil's advocate. And so for the foodies, I can see the value in this. You know, I'm in my screen. I'm living life vicariously through my avatar, and I see this great tantalizing meal that somebody has produced on the other side of the planet, even up the street. So instead of me reaching out to this person or hopping in my car, on my bike, or walking, you know, taking a healthy walk to this location to eat, I'm just going to experience this meal through my phone. I bet that tastes good. I can only imagine how good that tastes. I would listen to what's that?
Lick it.
Lick it, right? You know, there's this thing called a pineal gland. And this, you know, scientifically, you know, we're not medical experts, but this is how you experience the real world through your pineal gland. And what do they say about muscles? If you don't use it, you lose it. And so what happens when we get to a point as society where we agree that, okay, instead of experiencing the real world around us with all the threats, our ancestors have survived millennia full of viruses and germs and predators and threats and all sorts of attempts to taper the population, but we're here. Going into 2022, we're here. So what that means is there's a resilience in humanity. So what has happened when we find ourselves where, okay, I'm more comfortable just simulating reality versus just taking the necessary steps to perpetuate reality? Once again, when we talk about healthyblackfood.com, the concept is understanding what's real from something as simple as a seed. By learning how to produce your own food, there's a whole different type of research that takes place. There's a whole different type of learning. There's a whole different type of communal activity. Praise to the Most High that happens when you see the the beauty, the ultimate ancient technology of a seed and how food is produced. Like I said, we do go through the technical pieces of, okay, amount of sunlight needed, what are the different soil amendments necessary, what are the nutrients, macro and micronutrients necessary to make your food grow. But once again, upon seeing it, upon putting your hand on this real seed with the real soil, with the real natural resources, watching how a thing grows. There are some things you can't learn through these screens. I can Google all day now how to grow a garden. And I imagine I would find millions of different sites to tell me how to grow a garden. But there's no way to know something unless you actually grow it. That's why we say if you really want to know something, you got to learn how to grow something. And there is an ancient, there is a primordial, there is a eternal knowledge around learning how to grow our food, family. When we have this conversation at B1AG, we like to make it fun. We see an optimistic opportunity for the melanated family to reconnect with our essence, Black in this proverbial garden. But we have to fight this algorithm, and this algorithm is now affecting our food system. It's one thing people want to be entertained. Okay, I'm just going to buy a little time, so I'm going to jump into this screen. But it's another thing. This is starting to encroach on our food system. This is starting to encroach on the way that we eat and nourish our bodies. Personally, like I said, not to throw shade on anybody's idea. I don't think the people that come up with these ideas are waking up in the morning, ooh, I just want to destroy humanity. You know, people are looking at trends. We realize, okay, more people are involved in these devices. People are scared. People, depending on where you live and what state you live in. I think about New York right now. All of these mandates going into place that are affecting real people, affecting how real people move. Either whatever side you are on the medical therapy, the experimental medical therapy, this is affecting all of us. Okay, right now we're going into 2022, but what does this research that's going on in 2021 look like in 2030, in 2040? Are we going to allow this to become normal? And this is a question we have to ask ourselves yesterday, because somebody spent a lot of money into doing research on a Lickable TV. We're not making this up, family.
You are what you eat. This food that we eat, that we ingest, this is for the edification of our bodies. This is to make sure that we run. Food is medicine. Food is like gasoline for our car. Like the same way we gas up our cars, the same way we get our oil changed for our cars and change out the fluids. That's what food is for the human body. Now, when you start changing what we ingest for the human body, you're in turn changing the human body. And let's not forget that. You know, we are human organisms, and okay, what are you really trying to change us into?
Are you going to drive your real car off some virtual gas? There is a concept of gas money, right, with the NFTs. And I would encourage the family, look into NFTs. They're interesting. It could be or couldn't be an opportunity for our artistically inclined people. But I'm a Libra. And so, you know, my whole life is balanced. There is a balance, and I would never want to be more dependent on something unnatural than natural. There's a such thing as divine providence. I doubt the Most High, whatever you want to refer to it as, that created all of this, all of these minds that's coming up with all of these virtual ways of living a real life. I imagine the divine providence is being connected to the nature, the real nature that was original. You know, who knows all the answers, but I do know, okay, I'm a real person. I could scratch my head. If I was about 600 miles away, I could dap my bruh up, right? So there is a real component to life. When we allow this balance to go towards everything virtual, there is profit in this, family. And let's just be practical. How many of our kids have gone into this tech industry? Think about it. You know, how many of your kids can compete with Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, if you just want to come from an economic standpoint? And so when we think about ways that melanated people have been locked out of certain industries, are we able to compete in the tech world? We see that a lot of the AI now, matter of fact, it was a statistic that in the next 20 years, 40% of the jobs that melanated men in particular have will be, not could be or possibly be, will be replaced by AI. Because a lot of melanated males typically go into your factory jobs, a lot of jobs that can now be replaced with a machine. So once again, when we talk about this B1 algorithm, when we talk about getting black to the garden, learning how to grow your own food, we know that there is going to be an existential need to eat as long as there's human beings on this planet. Now, if we allow this social engineering to dominate our just intrinsic understanding that we're connected to the real world, I don't know what to say to you. But I do understand if we reclaim, if we reconnect with our place in nature as the mothers and fathers of civilization and learn how to feed one another. How do we strengthen these systems where we get food from seed to table? How do we make sure we're going into uncertain times where, hey, you're not allowed to ride up the interstate. You might get stopped once you get to the state line because you didn't have this medical gene therapy. So, we're not saying that, Chicken Little, the world is falling, but are we applying our thought energy? Are we exercising that pineal gland to figuring out how do we feed one another? And see, once again, when we talk about being on code, that's a very simple code. I can't think about too many arguments I would have with anybody in regards to your religion, your gender, where you come from, what your favorite team is, what's your favorite color, what block you grew up on. All of us have to eat. If we allow any system, who cares about the ethnicity behind it? If we allow any system to take our food security virtual, what does that do for the family? What does that do for the human part of us, the spiritual part of us? Like you said, you are what you eat. Are you willing to only consume that which is virtual, that which can be taxed? That which, okay, if there's an EMF that goes off or one of the EMPs, the little electromagnetic bombs, what does that do to your food security? If you've allowed yourself to be socialized to only experience food vicariously, what does that do when your digital food subscriber says, okay, I'm going to go up on the price of how much I'm charging for this lickable screen? The brother Nathan Lockridge was talking about the 3D printed chicken or 3D printed food. What happens when, okay, we allow ourselves, one generation down the road to be dependent upon a 3D food printed system because we didn't take the time in 2021, 2022 to learn how to grow our own food? What happens if the system goes down? What happens if somebody hacks into the 3D printed food production system and just wants to put some special sauce in there, wants to inject it in something that's going to change your genetics, wants to inject the poison just out of being mean? I would say that these are all possibilities, family, but we're living in real time. And here at B1AG, we're not conspiracy theorists, believe it or not. We spend a lot of time really searching through stories specifically around food security. Where is the future of food going? Somebody had left us a message. Man, we love the content you talk about, but why do you got to racialize it? Because our family is the one affected by this. And at the end of the day, our ancestors built the most efficient food system on this planet. We did it from the beginning. And then when we think about this concept that we call North America, they built this agricultural industry when it was sustainable. It was only when, okay, hey, we got machines now, so we don't need y'all Negroes. We'll replace y'all. And now we find ourselves today where we have these shipping supply chain disruptions. We find ourselves now where we have all of these cancerous herbicides and pesticides. We find ourselves dependent on all of these carbon emitting machines, all of these unsustainable practices that our ancestors didn't have all of these extra amenities to produce. They just produce. When we have this B1AG conversation, how do we get back to that essence of knowledge of, hey, y'all, let's get good at growing food again. Let's get good at feeding people. And primarily, how do we feed ourselves and sell the surplus to others? Because we see the others are thinking about lickable TVs.
I can't get full off of that, bro. And for those watching live, can you get full off of licking your TV? Like I said, there's a difference between tasting and eating. There's a huge difference between tasting and eating. You know, eating will satiate their hunger. Tasting, for me, tasting just makes that hunger worse. Because I'm not getting any fulfillment from that outside of just the taste. You know, my stomach is not getting full. The cells in my body are not being fed. I'm not being re-energized. I'm not getting anything of nutritional value from that. Let's not get away from the basic building blocks of life, y'all. We can't get away from the basic building blocks of life. They want to replace them.
My sister 10 is on her piece, sis. So you remember going down to Mud's house. And see, we used to think it was an arduous task. What my mom and my granny would do, they want us to go play. And they're like, if y'all don't play, y'all going to help us shell these butter beans. Y'all going to help us go out in this garden and pick these greens. But like I said, I remember our family had never been closer together when it was time to eat. When it was time to eat. Right? And like I said, we looked at it like, oh, no, I don't want to help you do that, so we're going to go play. But we find ourselves at a place in time now. This is, to me, and I'll be very honest, I think this is one of the most important things that we can be talking about right now. We see a lot of the sports and entertainment and celebrities going through what they're going through, but you can't eat that. You know, now I see that my favorite celebrity has done this or done that. Is that going to nourish your body? These people in the White House or, you know, whatever theater is going on when it comes to politics. After all of that said, now where you fed? You've been informed all of this possible information on what's going on, but did it feed you? One thing that is a tangible, codified effort is getting back into producing food. When we talk about urban agriculture, absolutely. Those are some of our best times. You know, I've lived long enough now to be like, man, it was oh so simple. It was oh so simple. But when we think about the apartments, a lot of us now are congested in these large cities where, you know, we're congested. When we think about New York City right now, one of the most jabbed areas, but they also now have some of the most mandates that are restricting people from going up the street to get something to eat. And I'm a person, okay, instead of focusing on the problems, you know, what are the solutions? Are we having more conversations about urban agriculture? Like I said, here at B1AG, we have some solutions, but you think about people like Pastor Dow. You think about people like Lev Farmer. You think about Corey Goodwood-Adu, Ron Finley, Malik Yakini. There's all sorts of, Leah Penniman. There's all sorts of brain trust around the country. Homestead Heart. There's a lot of information around right now on this internet, on this web, of people who are incorporating growing food. How do we make this reintroduce this as a part of our culture? How do we make this one of the top 3 conversations that we have in our family? And it doesn't matter where we're at. Okay, maybe I can't grow anything in my apartment, but have I teamed up with X amount of my neighbors within my apartment to go in on an acre plot somewhere? Have I teamed up with some of the people in my apartment complex to go in on a group subscription share with some of the regional farmers, just in case these people in the White House or wherever want to restrict interstate travel? Are we having the necessary conversations to make sure we got X amount of people with trucks, vehicles that can go get this food and bring it to a centralized hub? Are we having these very specific conversations, family?
And let us not forget, the foundation of what we're talking about is food. But I'm from the South, and even now, this isn't just exclusive to the South. When we eat, especially when we eat together as a family or at a common table, there's a lot of conversations that happen. when we were like, I was sitting there, you and your sister talking about picking watermelons and peas. I did all that too. And when you're shucking that corn or you're busting them peas down, you're talking with your grandparents, there's a lot of game exchanged. We're an oratory people. That's why we sing and we rap and we do poetry and write books. We're oratory people. That's how we share our knowledge. We're on this podcast talking, trying to spread this knowledge about this food, healthyblackfood.com. This is a way we connect. The food connects us not only just through the act of eating, but through the social act of what eating entails. Being together, talking. You're not getting that social interaction licking on screen. Let's not forget, these are the things that make us human. These are the things that help us propel into the future. It's the game. It's the knowledge that we share with each other while eating, breaking bread. These are concepts that I know we all are familiar with. Breaking bread. That's why we call it the Daily Bread Podcast. Because we really want to share at this dinner table in the garden. We're in the garden now. You see the grass above our heads. We're in the garden now. And we really want to share this information about how important it is for us to make sure that we are food secure. Not only for ourselves, but for our family, and how we can strengthen our community through agriculture.
Once again, you got to have, long-term planning, social engineering. So my grandmother never touched a cell phone in her life. Never touched a cell phone in her life. My great-grandmother never saw a television in her whole life. And this is within the 1900s. To where now my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter about to be 3, can navigate this thing called a smartphone. So social engineering meant over the course of these generations, I touched my first computer in 1990. My mom, she's a retired school teacher. I remember they had those big fat box Macs, right? And so, my part of this genetic relay, I learned how to navigate a computer to where now my offspring knows how to navigate and she can barely talk. So saying that to say this concept of social engineering, the factions at play, think these things out a long time in advance. If I plant this seed of technological dependency now in the 70s, 80s, what is this going to look like for my dominance over these people in the 2020s, 2030s? What happens when so many people are dependent? Because I know on social media, there's more than 4 billion people now across the planet of 7.6 billion that are somehow engaged in social media now. And so you think about it, if I want to mandate something, guess what? If I didn't have a screen, I wouldn't even know there was a such thing as a mandate. There was a time that the only way you got information is if you had a newspaper. I remember we were talking about this yesterday. If you're out in the cut, you don't know what's going on. You're just living life. You wake up, you see the sun shine or it don't shine, either or. You're surrounded by this land. But what happens is we can get informed, and sometimes negatively, through these devices. And so our thing with this B1 algorithm, how do we make sure that we don't lose our connectivity with the real world? Because we see that there is a very codified effort to just, hey, don't live real life. We want you to live through these screens. We want you to live through these devices, and then we're going to tax you. It's like selling dope. I'm going to give you the first couple hits for free just so you keep coming back to me. And then once you keep coming back to me, this has now become an addiction to you. I can keep going up on the price, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get this dopamine rush because I've gotten you used to it slowly, slowly, slowly over time. Well, here at B1AG, we want to get us used to understanding we can grow food. This isn't something that's delegated to people out in rural areas. It's great to meet rural farmers, especially melanated farmers, but this is something that can be applied wherever you're at. The brother Nathan Lockridge was talking about he's experimenting with lights. He's a researcher. He's just as legitimate as a researcher with his floating beds and his lights as this guy over in Japan experimenting with lickable TVs. This is the essence of research. There's a thing I want to do. There's a thing I want to achieve. And I'm going to experiment with these different ways of going about achieving it. This is our concept with B1AG. How do you start with the seed? Once you have in mind that from this seed, I want to grow something that's consumable. And ultimately, over the years, as time progresses, I want to be able to produce more of it. I want to produce so much of it that I can eat it, my family members can eat it, and I have a surplus that can be sold to other people to eat this product, this natural product that I got good at growing because I took growing hard serious, because I internalized like, wow, food flips harder than anything you can mention. Fresh up out the field and whip it up in the kitchen.
Straight up. And then think about it. You learn how to grow food, learn how to refuel yourself. What else can I grow? What else grows? Think about it. What we live for, what we slave for, what we go to work for, food, clothing, shelter. We can grow all three of those, food, clothing, and shelter. You can grow that. How do you grow shelter, John Henry? Well, if you make your house out of wood, that's an agricultural product, right?
Agroforestry.
You can actually learn you can grow your own trees and cut them down and build your own houses.
Great investment.
Or make your houses out of stone. Matter of fact, wow, John Henry, how can you grow your own house? Well, you can take this hemp and mix it with concrete and it becomes petrified, stronger than even stone.
And it regenerates your soil wherever you're growing it at. And
pulls the toxins out of the air for all the people with, these allergies and things. And it's fire retardant. And it repels bugs. Food, clothing, shelter. How do you grow your own clothes? All these, do you know everything that we wear is grown, right? Whether it's cotton, that's grown. It opens the door. When you learn how to grow something, it opens the door to so much more. And that's why it's very important that we continue to push this black algorithm, work our muscles to become these athletes, these ultimate athletes, as we have always been throughout history. So we're going to continue to push this black algorithm and fight against this algorithm, getting black to the garden.
Pushing the black algorithm. Ancestors, they mastered the systems. We raising your bosses, no victims. Planting that knowledge curriculum. Blessing the roots with the nutrients. The darker the berry, black Nubian. Dropping receipts like I'm Julian. The streets with that food like Peruvian. Trapping the merch and the fruits and the veggies. CSA boxes, my package is heavy. Ship across town in the bed of my Chevy. Printing them up, growing hard for that baby. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta scramble. Bet on black farmers and growers, no gamble. Reclaiming our pain cause the game is in shambles. Blessed with that melanin, carry the miracle. Mothers and fathers of civilization. Black to the garden with through cultivation. Building back better through black innovation. B1 community growing the nation. Genetically designed to be the dopest. Open that growth mindset. Codified, now we focus. Farming on back on track. Be the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Now watch me get them. Watch me get them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Be the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Watch me get them. Watch me get them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm.
I'd just like to thank everybody who's watching us live right now. The comment sections are lit. You know what I'm saying? We have some amazing people that watch our show, participate, very interactive. And we really appreciate that. Sister Nancy Farm. Nancy Farm Fancy. We will hit you back up. We will hit you back up. We will hit you back up. Be on the lookout.
The brother Nathaniel Lockridge. So watching his neighbor, and this is what this is all about. He said, okay, so I'm watching him build this fence. And as I'm watching him, I'm learning. Right? A few weeks ago, we were talking about, man, you know, I'm producing and people think you're weird. People think you're going crazy. But the same way you're learning from your neighbor, he's a light. You know, I don't know what language he speaks, but you don't have to understand what he's speaking when you watch what he's doing. So it's the same thing, the power that each of us have. I imagine Noah looked crazy, you know, building this boat where there was no such thing as water or rain until it started raining, right? But saying that to say, each of us can take leadership where we're at, whether the algorithms, whether the computers are working or not. Sometimes people learn better just by watching. Here at B1AG, we talk, we like to bring these topics to the forefront, but people learn more by watching. My little kids, I don't think they have these automatic little mute buttons in their ears, but they watch. What is it the mom and dad are doing? What are they doing with their hands? What do they spend time doing? So when they see us working in the garden, when they see us networking, conducting business, working with these farmers, riding out to these farms, bro, I tell you this, little Trevor, every time he sees a fence and a large pot of grass, he literally says, cows, where's the cows? That's how his mind has been socialized.
Yeah.
When he sees a large space with fences, he automatically assumes farm. And the context came from a melanated man that cares for him and his father, right? And so this is the power that we have within our households, within our communities, of setting the tone, setting the context. I don't just see a piece of grass, I see opportunity. I don't just see a fence, I see, okay, I'm keeping something inside of this fence that is profitable, that is feeding people. Context is everything. And people learn by seeing. This isn't the thing, oh, you know, I know at work you got to give these success stories. The success story is, what does they say? Each one reach one, each one teach one. We become a more resilient, black to being resilient like our ancestors were. And we understand business a little bit more now. We're more savvy. We have the experience of our ancestors to understand, okay, yeah, we gotta protect this. We got to protect this knowledge. We got to protect this experience. We got to be stewards of the natural resources around us. And it starts with the seed.
And we definitely put that power of being stewards of our natural resources back in our hands, because we see what's going on with it in others' hands. They're destroying this planet. And we're beginning, we see them doing it, and there's a critical mass of us that are watching them destroy the planet and following in suit. So we need to be the lights and show a better example of how to take care of this planet, how we can take care of ourselves, and how we can love ourselves enough to feed ourselves great food, sit at this table, have great conversations that promote life and love and promote a better future for all those that follow. If you want to hit us up with information or you want to reach out, B1AgHipHop@gmail.com. B1AgHipHop@gmail.com. Please like, share, and subscribe to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. We need to grow this conversation, y'all. Hey, we need to get to 1,000 subscriptions. How fast can we get to 1,000 subscribers? We need 1,000 subscribers just so we can have more flexibility in how we can move and operate. It's very important.
And I would like to add to that, and this is like Nancy, like Nathaniel, one of our goals is, 2021 is the first year we started having this conversation online. Our goal is to really reach out to these people outside of the chat box. have these conversations because there's something to be learned from everybody. And so once again, when we're talking about fighting this algorithm, you need more people pushing like, share, subscribe to bring more people, because our goal is to have a broader conversation. I like chopping it up with you, bro. I imagine you like chopping, we have some in-depth conversations, but we want to expand this conversation. We want to be able to hit up different people who are learning, researching, trying different things in different places. We want to be able to highlight different work that people are doing. Once again, there's seeing is believing. There's one thing, you're reporting on somebody's story, and then there's another thing, really talking to this person directly for them to narrate their stories. So this is the ultimate goal of B1AG. Come 2022, and we're affirming it. We're affirming it. We're going to expand this conversation, family, and we need your help.
And not just expanding the conversation. When we do expand this conversation, we're bringing more people to the table. We want to bring more people to the table to sit down and eat. That's literally, we want to bring more people to the table to sit down and eat, and then we can chop it up over a great meal.
One more thing, my sister just said, talking about Elder Nellie Fuller compensatory code. What does the code say about food? And I would say it's in the area of war. He who feeds you leads you. Where does food fall in? I think somebody, the Elder Nellie Fuller said, "Don't ever speak for somebody." So I'll speak VGQ, victims guaranteed qualifications. Food is an act of war. We know business is war. And so between the two, you can see the value of knowing how to grow your own food. If you can feed yourself, then you're a lot less subject to whatever somebody else might have in mind. If you get good at it, then guess what? You open up business opportunities. You create new jobs. You create new ways of, it goes into health. Let me not be graphic, sex. Before there was a such thing as a money wad, I imagine the man who could go out and hunt, the man who could start a garden, probably procreated more than the man who didn't produce food. When we talk about politics, like I said, if I can dangle this proverbial carrot, you grow carrots, right? So I dangle this proverbial carrot over your head. I can make you go whatever direction I want you to go. So once again, when we talk about understanding how to produce food from a seed, it ties into every area of human activity, sis.
And agriculture is the foundation of all economy. I got my degree in economics from the University of Kentucky. Agriculture is economy. If you don't eat, you can't do anything else. Anything. You can't create, you can't build, you can't do anything unless you eat. And everything that we do, that we use to do anything, still is an agricultural product. It comes from the ground, some kind of way.
The wealth of this concept in North America came from sugar cane, certain grains that created different forms of alcohol, tobacco, timber, cotton. Well, how was that developed? There was a workforce. Who was that workforce? It was melanated people, whether they were aboriginal to this land or shipped over to this land. It was melanated people who were very efficient at producing these agricultural products. It wasn't a stock market. It wasn't crypto. It was producing things that grew naturally from the land. So once again, when we have this conversation, the degree that we realize our existential, our natural, our God-given ability to work the land in a sustainable way, to that degree that we get black to that essence, that degree we change the world. And we don't need permission. We don't have to ask somebody to prioritize, learn how to feed ourselves.
And listen, now look at this banner below. Frederick Douglass is well documented on speaking how slave owners use food as a weapon of control. Now, going back to today's story, NetLICKS and Chill, Japan introduces Lickable TV. Now, the concept of them even coming up with this is because it is intended to enhance connection-starved watchers' ability to connect and interact while limited by this pandemic restrictions. They have a plan for us, y'all. That's just a little insight, a slice into their plan. They want us home. They want us stuck to a screen. They want to limit our mobility. So if we see that's the plan, what we gonna do about it? Okay, you want me home? Cool, I'll grow something here, so I don't have to go to the store. Oh, you don't want me in your store unless I got, this or that? That's fine. I got a grocery. I got my backyard, like Sister Rhonda Moffett. My backyard is my grocery store. Like Brother Lockridge, they churning butter and making jerky, and man, I remember making that home churned ice cream with my grandmother growing up. Some of the best eating ever. Let's create these memories with our families, with our children, with our young ones, in our communities. Let's have this big round table discussion over a great meal. Let's continue to grow.
It is a part of the metaverse. It is a part of the metaverse. All dots connect. What is it, Pee Wee Herman? Connect the dots. All these dots connect. And the simple stupid of it is, I don't want y'all to be what y'all are. If y'all, if these 1,500-pound livestock animals realize all they have to do is just run through this fence, I can't contain you to slaughter you. And so I need you to think that there's no life outside of this pasture. I need you to think the only way you can eat is if you eat from this trough that I'm going to decide to bring this feed. And if I run out of feed, you're just going, you're going to butt heads with the other livestock out in this pasture over this limited pasture. But outside of this fence, there's a world full of pasture, world full of grass, world full of plants to eat. And so when we talk about this metaverse, there is this large scale, and it's not conspiratorial, effort to keep the so-called 3/5, the human livestock, within this fence. It's a mental fence. You can't do anything without me. You need me to take care of you. But that's here at B1AG. We understand. Once you understand how to grow your own food, these fences don't exist. There's this type of power you get when you understand how to grow your own food. There's so many other life lessons and ancient wisdoms that come to you just by the nature of this process.
And the power's in your hands. So as I like to say, power up! Let's get that power up, y'all. And how do we get our power up, Farmer Brown? If the people really want to know something, and power up, what do they need to do?
If you really want to know something, it ain't NetLICKS and chill. It's cut off the Netflix and teal. And let's learn how to grow something.
Hey, I like that. Let's get out there and let's continue to grow. Let's continue to expand. Let's continue to be prosperous. Let's continue to be gracious and loving. I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC. We'll catch you again, Black in the Garden. Peace.